Well, the foes of the president call themselves the resistance, as though he were a foreign tyrant, Vichy or something, and not the democratically elected leader of our country. It seems silly, but it's also used to justify plenty of pretty outrageous statements and actions. When the Trump administration, for example, released a proposed federal budget, a man called Bishop Dwayne Royster claimed the budget was a form of ethnic cleansing.
This budget, if I can be honest with you, it is an attempt to implement ethnic cleansing in this nation from people of color, but also poor white folk from whom the services being cut will be impacted the most. President Trump and his surrogates have used dog whistle language to speak about race in negative ways and create fear in the hearts of Americans.
Well, that didn't make a lot of sense, so we invited Royster on the show to explain what exactly he meant. Here's part of what he said. You know, I don't want to be in the position of defending a budget that I don't like in a lot of ways. But it's outrageous for you to say he has contempt when you don't know that. You don't know that. It's unknowable. We can evaluate whether the policies work or not, whether we agree with them or not. We can't evaluate what he thinks because we don't know. And you cast this in racial terms.
It is racial.
How is it racial?
It's absolutely racial.
Doesn't this affect poor white people, too?
Absolutely.
Then how's it racial?
Tucker, if we were to go back and take a look at Donald Trump as candidate up through all the actions Donald Trump has made in the beginning of his presidency, the actions that he has taken are very much racially motivated. They're very much motivated by faith. They're very much motivated by trying to make America white again, not just make America great again.
How the hell do you look at this budget and say it's ethnic cleansing?
It is ethnic cleansing. People believe you. It is. We're talking about taking $1.4 trillion out of Medicaid, making it so that people who struggle the deepest in this country are not going to be able to get the health care that they need. We're talking about taking $200 billion. Let me finish. They're talking about taking $200 billion away from SNAP benefits that are going to be able to help feed people in this country. We're talking about taking away more money.
Hold on, slow down. I'm asking something very specific. Why is it ethnic? Because the life expectancy for black Americans is not in decline. It is in decline for working class white Americans. So presumably it hurts them worse.
But that number is still higher for white folk than it is for black folk in this country. No. The reality is that this is racial. The dog whistle language that Donald Trump and his surrogates used while they were on the campaign trail is the same language that they're using to try to get this budget passed. It's the same language that they're trying to use to be able to try to cut these programs. They're using dog whistle language that goes back to Nixon and when he was using the Southern strategy, when Ronald Reagan was using that language. This is a facts-based conversation. When we look at the programs that are being cut, they are going to cut people of color. They're going to cut poor white people, and the poor white folk out there are being sold a bill of lies.
Instead of making gross generalizations about people's ethnicity and skin color and evoking the shared memories of persecution, which you are doing on purpose, say, look, here's the policy.
People. This is persecuting people.
Maybe he just disagrees with you. Does that make him evil?
In this country will be persecuted as a result of this. We're cutting the legal services corporation so people won't even be able to have a legal defense for themselves in this country.
You're so overstating it that here's the problem. Here's why I think you're a bad representative for your faith. Because you don't
know anything about my faith.
I'm saying this, that a prerequisite of decency is to assume, until proved otherwise, goodwill on the part of people who disagree. The people who are reasonable and decent can have a different view from the view I have, and they're still reasonable and decent. We just disagree. You don't seem to entertain that possibility.
Actually, Tucker, I did not attack Donald Trump personally. I attacked this policy.
Ethnic cleansing?
And I said this particular policy is about ethnic cleansing, along with the Muslim ban, along with what he did at Standing Rock with executive orders, letting oil pipelines come through indigenous communities that the white communities in the same area didn't want coming through their areas. While we look at this budget and everything else that's going on with that.
There are plenty of Indian reservations that have pipelines through them. Are they complicit in ethnic cleansing? And you ought to bring people together in your capacity as a clergyman, not divide them. Don't lift the Bible in my presence, buddy.
I'm a preacher. This is what I do.
No, not here.
This is what I do. Matthew 25. Jesus talks very clearly about.
You know what? I want to have a conversation about adult
judging
things.
How people are going to be judged. Are you saying faith is not an adult thing? Are you sitting here criticizing faith and saying it's not an adult thing?
Needless to say,
you sir ought to be ashamed.
All right, we got to go. You may think Bishop Royster's statements were a little over the top, but by comparison to what we heard from Democratic strategist Jim Devine, they were tame. After the attempted assassination of Congressman Steve Scalise, Devine went on Twitter and said that Republican lawmakers deserved it for engaging in inflammatory rhetoric. He then added this hashtag, Hunt Republican Congressman. We invited Devine on the show, and amazingly, he came. Here's what happened next. Hours after 5 people were shot, including the House Majority Whip, you sent out a tweet that said, Hunt Republicans. I mean, it was clearly a reference to the assassination attempt against Congressman Scalise. It's hard to imagine how you could justify writing something like that.
In the immediate aftermath of the shooting at the Sandy Hook school, we've heard people say this is not the time to talk about gun violence. We've heard lots of things follow this. You know, this is a.
No, but that's not what you were saying. You were encouraging gun violence. Wait, hold on.
Absolutely
not.
You
were encouraging gun violence.
Absolutely not. I never encouraged gun violence, and I stated on my
what did you mean by that?
I don't
put down that
condone or
paper. I'm talking about you, not some other paper. I mean, please.
But this is what's been out there.
This has been going on interested in what other people.
We see stuff like this, and this is not an uncommon
that's great,
thing.
but we're not.
We saw.
So your excuse apparently is other people have done it. That's not an excuse. I'm here to ask you about something that you wrote, and why don't you explain it? Why did you write hunt Republicans?
Is that for too long, Republicans in this country have failed to distinguish the differences between politics and war. And a lot of Democrats have failed to see the similarities. So you guys either have to tone down the rhetoric or we have to step up. And I don't think there's anything.
I don't think
hunt Republicans.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Sarah Palin put the crosshairs on Congress. I'm just saying hunt Republicans instead of Democrats.
First of all, Sarah Palin didn't do that. A group affiliated with her did. And it's a difference between metaphor and actually suggesting affirmatively go hunt Republicans after Republicans have just been shot.
She put up a boast about her Republican bullseyes.
What point are you making? That's okay?
What I'm making the point is that after year after year after year of hearing the same kind of violent rhetoric from the right, the left has every reason to come forward and stand up. What I've learned in life is that when you're confronted with bullies, you have to fight fire with fire. You have to stand up to them. But my point is that when you put up obstacles to people voting, when you secretly plot in the Senate to repeal health care that's keeping 50,000 Americans alive, and you're otherwise erecting barriers to the democratic process where we have elections where the people that get the most votes don't win,
that you should be shot?
What happens is, no, but that is tyrannical government.
Do you think that someone who tweets a line such as hunt Republicans or hunt Democrats ought to be allowed to have a gun as a gun control advocate? That's my question to you. It's really simple. What's the answer?
Absolutely. I don't think that would in and of itself define them as a person who either broke
someone
the law
going on to social media and advocating violence in the wake of a shooting. That's not a red flag or anything. Okay.
It does not
you're not much of a gun control guy, I guess.
Shooting.
Yeah, apparently not. What is your point?
My point is enough is enough.
So,
if it's
time to take up arms?
No, it is not about taking up arms. It is about coming together and fighting back.
Fighting back how?
Politically. Peacefully.
Then what is this about hunting and cheer? You know what? You're an unbalanced person, and I have to say, it's distressing that more Democrats haven't disavowed you. Well, it's not just Trump that makes the left deranged. Coming up, we'll have a memorable encounter with a feminist who objects to calling breastfeeding natural. If you can believe it. Stay tuned.